Tonight, deadly exposure, the horrific toll fentanyl is taking on Minnesota's youngest. It's raising questions about whether enough is being done to protect babies and toddlers when their parents use a deadly drug. Here's investigative reporter Lauren Lemanchek.
I was playing with him and I fell asleep. I woke up with him on top of me.
In an apartment littered with used needles.
He wasn't breathing.
1-year-old Ryder Compton got into something deadly.
He sticks everything in it. Yeah.
His parents' heroin laced with fentanyl. In this police interview, his father, Joseph Compton, swears he kept the drugs behind a baby gate, out of reach.
I tried to be as safe as possible.
Ryder's mother was asleep after using that fentanyl-laced heroin in the bathroom.
Am I going to be facing murder with my own son or manslaughter?
Joseph, I'll be honest with you. It's possible.
A toddler lost, a family's tragedy, and a community's crisis. Ryder Compton is one of 23 small children or babies KARE 11 has identified who died by accidentally ingesting fentanyl.
It's just not okay.
Evidence Melissa DeBilzen with Safe Passage for Children says shows Minnesota is not doing enough to protect young kids when their parents are using a drug so dangerous, even a few grains can be lethal.
We've seen these cases all too often where there are red flags. Parents are given opportunity after opportunity to comply with treatment programs and failed to do so.
In Ryder's case, red flags included dozens of police calls for drugs, domestic assault, narcotics, child abuse, and child neglect. At least 4 reports made to Child Protection, each screened out for lack of evidence. For another Ramsey County toddler, Jackson Wydell, giggles masked red flags that were more like bright warning signs flashing. It was Christmas Day. Instead of opening presents,
a 1-year-old child not breathing.
1-year-old Jackson overdosed.
333 be advised the baby ingested fentanyl.
What's more, records show fentanyl was all over the home where he lived with his parents, Jasmine Ryan and Jeffrey Wydell. 2 of the couple's other children, a 4-year-old and 1-month-old, also tested positive that day for fentanyl. This didn't come out of nowhere. Records and interviews obtained by KARE 11 show Jackson's parents both had long histories of drug abuse. Jasmine Ryan had 3 babies in 4 years, all with withdrawal symptoms, including that 1-month-old born addicted to fentanyl, and authorities knew it. Still, it appears rather than remove the children, Ramsey County CPS used the less serious Family Assessment Program. KARE 11 previously reported how counties usually default to assessments. A voluntary approach, they say, highlights family strengths while prioritizing the safety of the child. So Jackson and his siblings remained in Ryan and Wydell's care.
There is a presumption that we try to keep children with their families.
Rebecca St. George with the Minnesota Department of Children, Youth, and Families says that's to minimize the trauma to kids of being taken away from their parents. She says to take that extreme step, the child needs to be at risk of imminent danger.
Generally, things start with an assessment. And part of that assessment is whether there's imminent danger.
Illegal fentanyl is not in and of itself an immediate danger.
It's not necessarily an immediate risk to the child. It might be, but it isn't always.
KARE 11 reviewed 23 fatal fentanyl cases, and at least a quarter of those, the child who died had prenatal exposure. But according to the state, being exposed to fentanyl in the womb is not the same as being exposed in the home, and it's not grounds for a formal child protection investigation. We asked DCYF, why not?
Because a parent has used or been exposed while they're pregnant, while they're carrying, doesn't mean they're not now in treatment. Doesn't mean that they can't now care for the child.
Instead,
the state policy is to determine whether we can do a safety plan that can keep the child safe.
In Jackson Wydell's case, the safety plan, put in place days before his overdose, appears to be that Jasmine Ryan wouldn't do drugs in the house. Jeffrey Wydell, who claimed to be clean, would supervise. A formal investigation could have led to court-mandated treatment or removal if Ryan and Wydell didn't cooperate. But that didn't happen. And Jackson died.
I mean, these children are already in imminent harm, and by the time the state steps in, oftentimes it's too late.
To DeBilzen, that's not good enough. Her organization is advocating for a more stringent approach when parents use fentanyl.
And when we look at the number of deaths that are attributable to fentanyl, if we're okay with that, then we don't have to do anything as a state. But if we're not, then we better take action.
Action before a potent and deadly drug shatters more families, taking Minnesota's most innocent. I reached out to Ryder Compton's family. His father, who is in prison, tells me he has accepted responsibility and he hopes Ryder's story can save lives and lead to more resources for parents in active addiction. Jackson Wydell's parents are both awaiting trial. Now, the state DCYF acknowledges a spike in child fentanyl deaths and tells us they're working on a solution. Meanwhile, at the Capitol, a bill just passed which would make exposing a child to fentanyl a felony. For KARE 11 Investigates, I'm Lauren Lemanchek.